Hey everyone, welcome back to Crime Weekly News. I'm Derek Levasseur.
And I'm Stephanie Harlow.
We're going to dive right into it in a couple seconds. How was your week, Stephanie? Everything good?
It's been busy, man. Busy. I mean, it's Monday.
It is Monday.
So.
You getting ready for the kids to go back to school? I know in the South, a lot of kids are already, I saw today, a lot of kids are starting school today or have already started. I know we're up in the Northeast. I think our kids both start around the same time.
Yeah, it's crazy to me how quick the summer went, honestly. It was a very fast summer, kind of not a great summer as far as spending family time. I wish I'd done more of it. But that being said, yes, I'm very much looking forward to them getting back to school. It's been tough trying to work during the day with them here all the time.
That's right. I'm excited as well, which means there's one downfall. We got to start getting up early again. I know for me, you always get up early.
I do. Yeah.
I don't. But now I'm going to have to switch over to it. So it's going to be a lot of criminal coffee in the morning. And we know that there's a lot of parents out there or people who are just, getting up early who are going to need their coffee to get their day started. And we wanted to do a little promotion for you guys on the Criminal Coffee website. And this is going to be site-wide for all of our coffee, including K-Cups, which is the first time we're ever offering this. Why don't you tell them about the code, Stephanie?
So the code would be back to school, but instead of TO for two, it would be the number 2. So back, BACK, the number 2, and then school, which is SCHOOL. And my favorite part of going back to school is not needing the coffee to get going in the morning, but being able to drink my coffee in the morning alone and in peace and like reading the news or something instead of like having it on the go and just like hearing screaming around me and preparing everybody's breakfast and stuff. So back to school with a 2, and that's going to give you 10% off of everything on Criminal Coffee site wide, including K-Cups. So take advantage of it.
That's right. And I got to pose a question that I wrote down the other day. I was talking to my mom, and I was actually made her some coffee. She loves my latte, so I made her some coffee. And essentially, we were like, hey, how do you make it? Do you make yours hot? Do you make yours cold? I don't care what time of year it is. I drink iced coffee. So down in the comments, if you're watching on YouTube, tell me what your go-to is. Are you a hot coffee drinker? Do you drink just strictly iced coffee, or do you mix it up throughout the year? Stephanie, what do you do?
I am a strictly hot coffee person throughout the year because I'm always cold, because I think that things taste better when they're hot. Like it brings out different flavors and stuff.
How can you drink hot coffee in the summer?
Because I'm in the house and it's air conditioned.
But all right. But if you're in your car, okay, great. If you're in your car,
why am I in my car?
If you're in your car driving around, and you're going somewhere, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna grab a coffee
I'm still having hot coffee. And honestly,
90-degree weather, hot coffee.
Dude, pumpkin spice lattes come out in at the end of August, and I will be ordering those extra hot.
Yeah, that's October. See, and I will mix it up.
No, it comes out in August. They come out in August, dude. They're starting already. They already have it at stores.
See, this is a hot topic, which is why I was like, I gotta pose that question to the Crime Weekly, group that we talk to every week and see what they think about this one, because I feel like it's mixed. I feel like we're pretty divided as a society on this issue, and we're gonna solve it right in the YouTube comments. All right.
I will say, if I go to Dunkin' Donuts, I'm getting an iced coffee because honestly, I hope I don't offend anyone, but their coffee is such garbage tasting that it doesn't matter if it's hot, it won't make it taste better. It just is gross. So,
shout out D&D.
Not like criminal coffee.
Starbucks. It doesn't matter for me. Starbucks. I drink we drink other coffees. We're not going to sit here and say we don't. And I'm the same. But unless it's freezing outside, I'm getting an iced coffee. I need that. Hot coffee on a hot day. Ugh, gross. Anyways, way down below.
Feels good to me.
But you did just say you drink some iced coffee after you said I always get hot. So
if
I'm already breaking you.
Forced to go to Dunkin' Donuts.
I'm already breaking you.
And I'm making sure there's tons of syrup and stuff in there, so I don't even have to taste their coffee.
Of course you got to put that in there. It's my new thing.
Ugh. Duh. What is this, 1992?
All right, we're going to get into it. Serious note. It always sucks to make this transition, but we're going to do it.
I know.
Because that's what we do here. All right, this week, 2 people have been arrested in connection to the 2016 disappearance of 19-year-old Morgan Bauer. Police in Porterdale, Georgia, have announced the arrest of Jonathan Alexander Warren in L.A. and Katelyn Goble in Peoria, Illinois. I don't know a lot about this case. I'm seeing it for the script here for Crime Weekly News, so I'm not going to say anything else. Stephanie, fill us in on the details.
Yeah, so Morgan Bauer, 19-year-old Morgan Bauer, she actually has been missing since 2016. She moved from Aberdeen, South Dakota to Atlanta, Georgia. She arrived in Atlanta on February 12th, 2016. And basically, within just a couple of weeks, she went missing. When she initially moved to Atlanta, she was living with a man that she'd met on Craigslist, and she sort of had a deal with this person that she would clean his house in exchange for being able to live there for free while she found a job and her own place to live and got on her feet. But something seemed to happen. The arrangement seemed to not have worked out, and it appears that she had gotten kicked out of this place. And she didn't want to go back to Aberdeen, so she did what she could to make her own money, which ended up being working as an exotic dancer. And it's believed that Morgan was staying at various local motels while she worked at a club in Hall County. And she, like I said, disappeared just about 2 weeks after her arrival in Atlanta. And her mother, Sherry Schillmiller, told Dateline, quote, "She wanted to be her own person, move to a big city, and spread her wings. I didn't really want her to go to Atlanta. It was something that was really worrying me. But Morgan does everything 100%. She's a go big kind of girl." And I mean, when your kid is 19, you feel like they're not grown, but you also legally cannot prevent them from leaving and living their own life. So it was initially believed by police that Morgan had disappeared on February 25th after her shift at the club, but it was later discovered that she posted a video to social media when she was at Yellow River Park in Porterdale, which is about 30 miles southeast of Atlanta, on February 26th. And then in this video, a man can be seen following her or with her. And this was the absolute last time that she did post on social media. So at some point on that day or shortly after, something happened to her. Now, the two people arrested were 27-year-old Jonathan Warren Alexander. He was arrested in Los Angeles, California, and he was charged with felony murder, aggravated assault, concealing death, and misdemeanor tampering of evidence. And 27-year-old Katelyn Goble was charged with concealing death and tampering with evidence. And their connection to Morgan is a little bit unclear at this time. Morgan still hasn't been found. They are searching for her. But after the arrest, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations was seen at a home on South Broad Street in Porterdale. This was a property they'd previously searched, and afterwards they announced they'd found items of evidentiary value in this home. And Casey McClure, she's a woman who runs an organization that provides outreach to exploited women. She told Fox 5 in Atlanta, quote, "It all goes back to the couple that was last seen with Morgan," which I assume she's referring to Alexander and Goble, because apparently law enforcement was led to these two people by a tip that claimed Morgan had last been seen at the club with the suspects. And when police spoke to them, they claimed they dropped Morgan off at a gas station. But obviously, the police did not believe that. Maybe they probably found evidence to prove that this never happened. And police now say they believe Morgan was killed and her body was dumped. And I assume that they're going to be trying to get that information about where her body was left by these two individuals.
100%. Yeah, this is not a good situation, because even though they don't have a body, the fact that they're willing to charge him with murder means they have a compelling amount of evidence to suggest that Morgan is no longer with us. Well, what could that be? It's a few things. Well, like you said, there's some conflicting evidence with their story as far as what happened that night. They're able to prove that what they're saying as far as dropping her off is not true, whether that's GPS coordinates, whether that's cell phone footage or camera footage from a surveillance camera in the area, Ring cameras, whatever it might be. They're able to, in their opinion, from the investigator's point of view, say, "You're lying to us. No doubt about it. You said you dropped her off, and you said you went over here," which is ironic considering that we're covering Kyron Horman right now, and we have cell phone coordinates in that case as well. But the cell phones aren't going to lie. If they're with you and they're in your possession and you're saying, "Hey, we dropped her off and then we went back to my place," but it's showing you at a different location for a couple hours and then going out to some wooded area or some body of water for a couple hours, well, that don't line up, especially if it's in the middle of the night. I'm not saying that's what happened here, but that could be what we're looking at. And then as far as how police come to the conclusion that more than likely the victim is no longer with us, I'm assuming, again, pure speculation, have no inside info on this, that based on where they went, based on the evidence that they found, there's evidence of a significant injury and or cleanup of something in that area. It could be where she was killed, and maybe there was a luminol test done or something, and there's evidence of a lot of blood, or at least a cleaning agent to remove that blood. It could be instruments that they have that they found in the area that were associated with the cleanup. It could be a totality of things, but there's something to suggest that Morgan was injured, and the injuries sustained based on what they found would not have been survivable unless she was taken to a hospital. And it doesn't seem like she was, because I'm sure they checked all those places. And this case reminds me on the surface something very similar to Jennifer Dulos. If you remember that case, Connecticut, they don't have a body in that one, but yet they charged her ex-husband or husband. I don't know if they were married.
Fotis.
Fotis, good old Fotis. They charged R.I.P. They charged him with murder without the body as well.
Not R.I.P.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't R.I.P. Fotis.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if this house that they searched in Porterdale was connected. Like, obviously, it's connected to these two suspects, but I almost wonder if one of their parents or family members still resides there. Like, this was a childhood home or something like that. And they were able to go in and get evidence, because that would be ideal. It doesn't really say anything about these two people, but I think it's very strange that you would commit a crime such as this with, and I mean, they were pretty young at this time, right? They were in their early 20s with somebody that you're dating, because it appears that they are no longer dating. He was in LA and she was in Peoria. So they're no longer dating. And now you have this person out there who knows this very damning thing about you that you're not with, that you no longer have an investment in, who no longer has an investment in you. And you would have to be stressed out and just anxious every single day that at any time something's going to come back. And I mean, this girl, Katelyn Goble, who's got the lesser charges, it's very likely that she may turn on him and say, he's not my boyfriend no more. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, yeah, I'm going to go down anyways for these lesser charges. But if you make me a deal or help me out a little bit, like, I can give you the information you need to prosecute.
100%. Exactly what I was thinking. They're charging her. There's probably some evidence linking her to that house as well, or at least based on GPS coordinates, putting her cell phone in the same area as his cell phone for an extended period of time on that night in question. So common sense is there's no way you wouldn't know what's going on. You were there till 2, 3 in the morning with him at this location. It's a small location. There's no way you wouldn't have any idea what was transpiring in the other room. And then maybe there's a situation where they went to a separate location to dispose of Morgan. And again, that her cell phone's there with his. So I agree with everything you said. At this point right now, Jonathan's the guy. They're obviously charging him with all the crimes, but they do think that Katelyn knows more than she's saying, and that she may have helped or contributed to the cleanup of this crime. And so you got to squeeze her, right? Jonathan's probably not going to roll. He's got nothing to gain by admitting to this. He's better off going to his deathbed saying he didn't do it. Katelyn, on the other hand, could see the light of day again, depending on her role in this whole thing. And I would imagine prosecutors would be more than willing to cut her a deal to get the bigger fish, right? So they got to go to her. They got to get her in a room and say, hey, it's up to you. You can do life in prison for a guy you're no longer with, or you can work with us now, give some justice to this family and to this victim. Let's bring her home, and you're not going to walk away scot-free, but you will be out again at some point. You will have an opportunity to rebuild your life. You made a mistake. Nothing we can do about that now. You got to pay for your actions, but you will decide how long you sit in a prison cell and think about those actions and those decisions you made. And it's, in most cases, they will flip, especially if there's no longer a relationship there. I'm surprised she hasn't already flipped. I'm surprised we don't already know where Morgan is, because as soon as they go to Katelyn, who's in Illinois,
they might know. They just might not have
found her yet. Yeah,
maybe
that's
they want to
possible
wait for
too.
trial,
but they're still charging her with this, and maybe that's just a formality. Maybe we don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
It just happened, I think 5 or 6 days ago.
Right. And so there's what do I always say? It's not always what they put out there as the press release. It's what they're not saying. There's a lot going on behind closed doors. guaranteed. And
Yeah,
so
man,
they're
if
going
I
to
was
continue to build his
Caitlyn,
case.
I'd be afraid. Like, maybe that's why she's all the way over in Peoria, Illinois, man, because I'd be like, okay, two can keep a secret if one of them's dead, right? Like, is this dude going to come for me next? Like, because now he's going to be stressed that I have information that could really hurt him. And so I think
Well, he's in prison now, so.
I just mean for the past couple of years, like I don't know how long, I don't know what their relationship is now. I don't know, but it does not seem that they are together because they're on opposite sides of the country. So whenever they broke up, I would have been very stressed out as Caitlyn that he could maybe come for me next.
Yeah,
now
you know
you've
what he's
seen
capable of.
What he's capable of, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a whole, we don't know a ton about Morgan, but you mentioned in your script that this was covered on Dateline as well, right? So this is a pretty, I apologize for not seeing it, but there was some coverage of this on Dateline. So clearly it's getting some headlines. And it's interesting because I don't know all the specifics, but you said that Morgan was an exotic dancer at some point in Atlanta.
Correct.
And you do see we were just talking about this. I covered Gilgo this week, and it was one of those things where the offenders, they're choosing to attack individuals who don't necessarily have a connection in that area and are kind of on their own, because their hope is that whatever happens, no one's going to look for them. Or if they do, it's going to be an extended period of time before they do so, broadening that window of when the incident could have occurred, creating a situation where they're less likely to be apprehended, because now there's this bigger window of all these people who could have done something to this woman. So it's a really sad situation where you have individuals who are a little down on their luck or whatever the situation is, and they're trying to make money to provide a better life for themselves, for their family members, for whatever it might be. And you have individuals out there who are honing in on them and specifically choosing them because of the current situations that they're in. It's a really sad set of circumstances that we're in.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I think that because of the circumstances with her being so far away from her family, she wasn't even reported missing until sometime in March. So, I'm sure not a full month later, but the following month after she went missing, she was reported missing. And obviously it's been since 2016, so there's been some sort of investigation. But I think probably right off the bat they suspected these people, like they had to have. I'm not sure. As soon as they got a tip saying that they were the last people seen with Morgan, it feels like it's pretty much downhill from there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Morgan had met them through the club, right? If she had met him at the club she was dancing at. A lot of cameras in there, right? There's a lot of footage, a lot of. And then these days,
is there a lot of cameras in there?
There's cameras in there for sure. I shouldn't say a lot of cameras. I'm not like an expert on strip clubs.
I feel like whenever you go to a strip club, they won't even let you use your phone.
I believe there's security cameras in there for not necessily for cameras from the people, but I'm assuming for litigious reasons. There's a lot of cameras in there if you have a sexual assault complaint, things like that, or you have a lot of weirdos that go into these strip clubs. Let's be honest. And so you need to have protection for the dancers more than the patrons. Yeah. But you have a lot of camera footage in there. Obviously, there's other women that work there, and they're going to be able to fill you in on the dynamic between these people. We don't know if Jonathan was a frequent flyer where he was trying to cultivate women outside of work, which happens a lot. You have situations sometimes, and I'm not inferring this at all. You sometimes have situations where you'll have pimps go into these strip clubs and try to recruit women to convert them over to sex work. Because it's, hey, listen, you're making this amount.
That's like human trafficking. I mean,
essentially, yeah. And it's like they're trying to tell them, hey, you're making this amount. You could be making this amount.
And it would make sense if he shows up with another woman, right, to lull her into a fault. Like, oh, yeah, she does it,
Which happens a lot, by the way. There's always that woman there. There's always that co-conspirator.
We call her Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah, I was thinking, but yeah, you ain't wrong.
Right. It's like to make the woman feel like, oh, another woman's doing it? Like, there's no danger here. If this woman is okay with it, why would another woman be telling me to put myself in a position of danger, to put myself in a position of exploitation? And it's like, just because somebody shares your genitalia does not mean they have your best interests at heart.
Facts.
Like, keep that in mind. Yeah.
Right. And we're talking in generality, just to qualify. We're not saying that's the specifics with this case, but I can tell you 100% that it happens. I know that they're constantly trying to remove this type of activity from these dance clubs, because it's a common thing that happens. And for the clubs that are on the up and up, they don't want that in there because it's not a good look for the business and can ultimately get them shut down. So
I almost wonder if it was another dancer who knew this dude from coming in there.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's how they got it. And you said something in there, and I might have misheard you, but they said that they saw them at a club. Now, the first impression
is that they didn't say which club, but
right,
they said at a club.
At a club. I wouldn't be shocked if it were a dance club. I wouldn't be surprised if it was that type of club where she was either working or they were there and they leave. And again, we're talking 2016, so you definitely have GPS coordinates. You definitely have the ability to track their movement throughout the night. They bring them in, they take a statement from them, and obviously whatever the GPS coordinates were completely contradict what they were saying. And I'm assuming the GPS coordinates landed on this address at the Porterdale for an extended period of time where they were all there.
Must have, right?
Must have. And I'm assuming also that Morgan's phone was pinging there constantly as well. So now you have the 3 individuals in this residence for an extended period of time. They get a search warrant. They go over there, and obviously they find evidence suggesting some type of assault, something where Morgan wouldn't have survived whatever occurred based on what they found. And because it's not a light decision to say we're charging them with murder, because you're basically telling the family your daughter's dead. So they have to be absolutely positive that's the case, or they're going to err on the side of caution and not say that. So they found something in there that is overwhelming in the sense of Morgan was injured. We have blood here. Maybe they were able to test it.
Right.
DNA towards one of her familial, relatives, and confirmed it was her blood. And based on the amount they found, it's highly unlikely she would have been able to survive that. So that's my guess based on what we've done in past cases. And like I said, it's very similar to Jennifer Dulos, where they found an extensive amount of blood or cleanup out of that, where it's highly unlikely Jennifer's still with us.
Unfortunately.
Any final words for you on this case? I mean, obviously, we'll wait to see how it unfolds. I'm interested to see how close we are to what really happened, because as it goes to court, and I think as Katelyn is the clamps are kind of tightened down on her, we will find more out, and I'm hoping that they're able to recover Morgan and return her to her family.
No, I don't have. I mean, I feel like Morgan's mother has been looking for her for so long, and
we're talking 7 years, right?
Yeah, and when you lose an adult child, or when you cannot find your adult child, there's always going to be a hope, right? That like they just went off the radar. They don't want to be found. They're living their life happily somewhere. This was their decision, and hopefully one day they come around and we can reconnect. But now it's feeling like that hope is becoming slimmer and slimmer, and so my thoughts are really with Morgan's mother, and I can't imagine. I can't imagine being in her position, looking for this long, fighting for this long, to have some sort of conclusion, but not really have the conclusion that you were hoping for. So it's very sad. Agreed.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We appreciate you guys joining us here on Crime Weekly News. We will be out with a new episode on audio. It's going to be Kyron Horman Part 3. That'll be out audio on Friday, and then YouTube on Sunday. We appreciate you guys joining us. If you made it to the end of the video, make sure you comment down below, and we will see you very soon. Be safe.
Bye.